Hey there. Are you ready to heal your life and learn a little self-healing? If so, you stumbled upon the perfect place today. Hey there, my name is Liz Garcia. I'm host of your weekly dose of higher consciousness that you can find on the podcast at trumpeteroftruthradio.com and on the YouTube channel at trumpeteroftruth.tv.com. This is the place to discover what I call the foundational basics and essential understandings for building a better life. I support this intention by putting power and truth into context based on consciousness research and the teachings of Dr. David R. Hawkins in the Map of Consciousness, which is a proven energy scale to actualize your ultimate human potential. And I do want to share this book because we're going to talk about a chapter in this book about self-healing. This is a Map of Consciousness explained. So today's topic is about healing yourself. And I opened up with asking if you want to heal your life. And I was first inspired by healing my life by a book written by Louise Hay. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. That was written probably over 30 years ago and has sold millions of copies worldwide in like 30 or 40 or 50 different languages. And I learned so much from You Can Heal Your Life. And what's really interesting is Louise has a section that has symptoms and what likely the psychological or kind of vibrational cause of a symptom or feeling or disease or whatever it may be is. And I first came across this way, understanding with Louise You Can Heal Your Life book, which I highly recommend because it's a great little encyclopedia. Like you grab the book, go and look at, say, I've got, what are some things? Like, there's tons of them, and now I can't think of a single one. Oh, I know. Like, let's say you've got some type of eye issue or hearing issue, or you've got cancer, or you've got diabetes, or any type of disease. There's a basis or vibration or belief going on in consciousness that's creating it. So I'm trying to think of ones that I've had, or if I had pain in my left side, as an example. I'd feel this shooting pain on my left side, and I open the book and it's like, okay, you've got this program running. So what Louise does is she provides an affirmation and understanding that you can help turn around what's going on. And I've done this to great success because I understand and I'm willing to accept that this is the truth. So this is an exercise in consciousness I'm teaching you right this second, is you've got to understand the mind is a superpower. And the mind's level of consciousness is in the 400. So this is like just a basic understanding to get started on self-healing, is understand that the mind calibrates in the 400s on the map of consciousness, which is 10 to the 400th power at whatever level it is. Like there's all different levels in the mind. Whereas the body is only 200 or 205. So the body's level of consciousness is significantly lower than the mind. And whatever the mind thinks at 10 to the 400th power, the body is going to accept, because the body is only 10 to the 200th power. The mind has a tremendous amount of power over the body, huge. And if you're thinking negative thoughts about yourself and the body, or of anything in general, it doesn't even have to be about the body, it's going to affect the body and your physicality. As an example, I'm pretty sure cancer is the reflection of resentment. So somewhere in your life, there's resentment, beating the drum of resentment in the body. And it's a suppressed and repressed emotion that you packed away because you think being resentful isn't spiritual. So you stuff it away, but it's still there. And Dr. Hawkins' book on letting go, there's a section about some research about buried and suppressed emotions. They all have this like tone to them. There's like this vibration going on in the body when you're holding and repressing a particular type of feeling. So let's say you're burying resentment. There's this folder in the body kind of that's holding on to this resentment vibration that distorts the cells of the body and creates cancer, as an example. So the remedy to that, we're going to talk about how Dr. Hawkins deals with pain in the body. But the remedy to removing the resentment is to allow the resentment to come up energetically, feel it and let it go. That's the mechanism of letting go and this book. So there's different ways to heal the body. This is one aspect of it, learning how to let go of the actual lower consciousness that you want to kind of invite up. Like you'd say to life, I'm willing to let go of negativity that's affecting my health. And then negative emotions will show up and you just have to become aware, like, okay, I asked for this. Now, how do I let it go? And there's tons of discussions about letting go, but who's teaching you how to do it? You know, most of us would let it go by expressing it out all over somebody, which is not the recommended method of doing that. The mechanism of letting go can be discovered in the Letting Go book that Dr. Hawkins created. And in, I've done a couple of episodes now on letting go. And the most recent one was letting go of anger, which is resentment essentially. So it's a good idea to learn how to let go of anger. But it doesn't matter what the label is you put on it. If it's fear, doubt, hatred, whatever, shame, whatever's coming up, they're all just emotional tones that need to be released. And I kind of go and help you with the understanding of the energy of what's coming out of you and how to deal with it without throwing up all over somebody else. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get angry at another. You want to let go of this and be willing to let go of it so that you can heal your life on many levels. That's going to help raise your level of consciousness for sure. And raising your level of consciousness brings you into greater health. Now, just for another understanding, healthy calibrates at 360 on the map of consciousness, which is a great thing to know. And if you're not healthy, you're not at 360 on the map of consciousness in regards to the physicality of your body. And if you view your body in a negative light, like I'm too fat, I'm not good enough, all of these negative thoughts create dis-ease in the body. And that You Can Heal Your Life book by Louise Hayes is going to identify, okay, this is what you're thinking, or this is the belief you've got running. And you use the affirmations that she has every single time, because I understand, I accept that this is true. I'm able to heal myself fairly quickly on any discomfort. Fast, and stuff disappears. It's kind of, interesting. So I want to share Dr. Hawkins' chapter. This is on page 146 of the Map of Consciousness Explained. He talks about self-healing and steps for self-healing. And the process of self-healing really starts on page 145. So I want to read this to you, and then I'm going to share my insights, because I've followed his instructions on how to do this to great effect. And you've got to understand that it takes higher consciousness to solve any problems. Albert Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem from the level of consciousness that created it. So you've got to learn to let go of the level and move above, like kind of remove yourself from the lower level that's operating and see, okay, I need to come into some level of higher consciousness that's going to help. So, and by the way, Dr. Hawkins has a whole book on healing, and he talks about, he had like a dozen different serious conditions, and he was able to turn those all around using his understanding of consciousness. And then he shares how he did that. But like, he didn't heal himself until his 50s. I mean, he was on his deathbed with some type of ailment, and he had a dozen different, maladies and chronic conditions that he turned around using his understanding of consciousness and how to do it. So I'm just going to read some here. It's pretty, I prefer just to read it and then I'll provide insights. So what is the process of self-healing? What are the consciousness techniques we can apply to bring about a reversal of disease? And I can assure you, reversals are more than possible. They're probable when you accept that they are. So we begin by letting go of resisting the sensations we are experiencing, and we stop labeling them. This is huge. Stop putting labels on everything, which everybody labels everything. And then they say, oh, I've got diabetes, I've got cancer, I've got this, I've got that. Stop that, period. That's got to stop. For example, we cannot experience a duodenal ulcer or asthma. These are mental, and so what he means is these are labels or mental constructs, elaborate programs and belief systems. And this kind of goes back to what Louise Hay is saying, that if you were to look up ulcers or asthma in her book, there's beliefs going on behind them that are very specific. And Dr. Hawkins is kind of saying the same thing in a little different way. So you can put the labels on them if you want, but you're not experiencing this in reality. You're experiencing something else. So you're experiencing your elaborate programs and beliefs is what you're experiencing, not asthma or an ulcer. So we go into the inner experience of the exact sensations and let go of resisting them. In effect, we will eventually disappear them through aligning with them by welcoming the inner experiences of the sensations. And I've had a lot of like really painful sensations in the body, many of them in different areas of the body. And I'm like, okay, I feel that, and I don't label it. Although in the past, when I had Louise Hay's book, I'd be like, all right, what is it? What's a kidney, a kidney problem look like? What is a liver problem? Liver, I think, is anger or resentment, something like that. Eye issues or hearing is like not wanting to listen anymore. If you have hearing issues, it's because you don't want to listen anymore. And seeing is you don't want to see anymore. You can't see into your future. It's a futuristic thing. You can't see your future, so you start to lose your eyesight, which is kind of interesting when you look at Louise Hay's book. So anyway, back to what Dr. Hawkins is saying. And, when you have extreme pain, which you can have, and he in fact was in surgery and wouldn't take anesthesia because he understood consciousness. He was able to remove himself from it and able to do it. I wouldn't recommend that, and he wouldn't either. But the ability for the mind to transcend the body is significant when you understand what's going on. So when you you experience the pain or whatever the sensation is. And in effect, we will eventually disappear them through aligning with them by welcoming the inner experiences of the sensations. So there's a willingness to experience out the sensations. And that's kind of how I've viewed it and accepted it. I'm like, I will be with it. And I mentally will say, I am willing to experience the energy of this out. Like it needs to be expressed out. And at the same time, I'm loving the body. I'm like, I love you. I want you to feel good. I want you to be healthy. Like I love and appreciate my healthy body. And I'm willing to sit through the pain and sensation of whatever it is to let the energy out. It's kind of like letting go of anger. There's this energy that needs to come out because there's too much pressure there. That's what the body's saying. The body's like, there's too much pressure of believing you have an ulcer, right? So you sit with the sensation of the ulcer, which you're not going to label. You don't have to label it because it's there, and you like be willing to welcome it and allow it to express itself out. At the same time, within the mind, we cancel any labels. So stop, cancel, let go of the label of it, especially cancer or diabetes. Let go of those damn labels. We stop calling it an ulcer and instead go into the inner sensation of it. The inner sensation may be a pressure or a burning. Even the words burning and pressure are labels. We cancel those again and go into the core, the absolute essential of what we are physically experiencing, and then let go of resisting that experience. So it's the resistance. You want to let go of resisting the experience because you fear the pain or whatever it is you're afraid of. You're afraid you have cancer. Like, let go of the fear and say, I'm willing to be with this and let go of the resistance of the experience. And every time I've done this, like within minutes, the pain's gone. I can't attest to you if you're in the middle of cancer treatments and you experience a lot of pain and whatever, there's a way to turn it around, but it takes a lot of inner, letting go of resistance and accepting what is. So acceptance is 350 on the map of consciousness. That's huge. It's an amount of power to go into acceptance about something. All right. So he's got some steps here. I'm just going to read through. So steps for self-healing. To put it simply, the consciousness technique of radical truth has these 5 steps in healing a particular illness. So you've got to come into radical truth about something because that's where there's power. There's no power in denial and fear and worry, any of that stuff. There's no power there. It's all below 200 on the map. It's downward pulling, negatively oriented, can't help you. So you've got to step into radical truth and courage, at least, to start turning it around, because there's gas in the tank at courage. There's a lot of gas in the tank at acceptance that's going to fuel the healing. There's no fueling of a healing when you're going down the tubes with negativity and lower consciousness. So you let go of resisting the sensory experience of it, no matter how painful it may be. I haven't had extreme pain, but I've had some serious pain that I was with it and I was willing to accept it, and it went away within minutes. Stop putting labels on it. No more labels. Get rid of the damn labels. This is something that we all have to learn in consciousness, is to stop labeling stuff. Maybe a better way to kind of go about it is to use Louise Hay's, approach. And if you have a diagnosis of cancer, the doctor will be like, you know what? You've been holding on to resentment for a while and some sort of belief. And there's a way to test this, like consciousness calibrations can test what the belief is that's creating the cancer or creating the discord in the cells to create cancer. So anyway, consciousness calibrations can help with that, but you need, which I'm pretty sure people that do nutritional response testing have the skills to test the body for sure, or they should. I'm not sure about that, but I'm fairly certain. I'll have to request that calibration, the level of consciousness of that. So anyway, if you also, what's the guy's name who did the emotion code? Emotion code. I'll have to share a link to that below. He shows you how to test what's going on within the body physically and get deep and deep as to what's the root of any type of pain or suffering. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, I'll share that on the video when I go to edit it, because we have a link on our website to It's a tool for transformation that can help you pinpoint where the pain's coming on, what the belief is, that type of thing. So you use no words at all in the welcoming of the experience of the inner sensation, which I use words and it still works, but he's suggesting not using words. But I kind of just, my words are, I'm willing to be present with this. I'm willing to let go of the whatever's going on behind it and allow it to kind of, I think that through, but it still works. But you definitely don't want to say, I'm willing to let go of this cancer. No, I'm willing to let go of this, resisting the experience. That's what you're letting go of. Resistance to the experience of the sensation, not the label. And then you cancel the mental label, the thought form, and the belief system and replace it with the truth. So here's the truth. And these would calibrate as strong statements at 200 or above on the map. So a truth statement is, I no longer believe in that. So whatever's going on, let's say it's a sensation, and you're feeling it through, you just say, I no longer believe in this. Whatever is creating this, I no longer believe in it. I am an infinite being, and I'm not subject to that. I am only subject to what I hold in mind. So stop holding stuff in mind like cancer and ulcer and disease of any sort. Choose the energy field of love, which heals. And I recently did the consciousness level of love is 500 on the map, which is huge. And most of us lack awareness that love is that powerful, way more powerful than the mind and science. A quantum leap above science, medical science is like 450 on the map. Love is 500. There's far more ability to heal with love than there is with medical science, as an example, in consciousness. I'm not a doctor. You got to use your own judgment. If you lack belief and you're running lower programs and can't break free of it, then you need a doctor, because they are of higher consciousness for sure. In the 400s, the medical community can help you. But if you want to self-heal on some minor stuff, this is a really easy way to go about it. Once you learn to do it and make it a practice, I like stuff shows up, I immediately go to the body part. I'm like, I love you, body. I appreciate all that you are for me. I am not the body. That's another positive, a strong statement and truthful statement. I am not the body, but I appreciate that I have you to experience life. I love you. I'm willing to stop resisting what you're telling me. That's kind of my little conversation with the body. So if we look at the basic physics of the energies involved, and keep in mind that the map of consciousness is a logarithmic scale, we can see why fear, which calibrates at 100 or 10 to the 100th power, which is of lower consciousness, is overpowered by love, which calibrates at 500 or 10 to the 500th power. Love's going to overpower the fear that's running in your belief system and in your thoughts about whatever's going on in the body. So let go of the fear of what's going on in the body and love on it. Therefore, the power of love is represented by 10 to the 500th power, which I just said, whereas fear is only 10 to the 100th. A very big difference. In fact, a quantum difference in power. There is no gas in the tank on fear. It's not going to get you where you want to go ever. Whereas there's tons of gas in the tank where there's love and courage, for that matter. Courage is 200. There's still power. There's gas in the tank there. And it's helpful to step into courage. But start loving on the body like a pet or a best friend. That's like Dr. Hawkins likes to consider it a pet. Because you are not the body, which we all think we are. We're way more than the body. So, and to accept that you have a body, you are not the body, is a big leap in consciousness as well. So to put oneself in an energy field of unconditional love, which is 540 on the map, which I just did recently, is to automatically heal oneself, 540. And powerful healers are in that field. Healers that can heal you instantly are in the field of 540 of unconditional love. That's how friggin' powerful it is. So kind of invite in unconditional love of the body and stop spinning the negativity that we all have about the body, right? And say, I unconditionally love you, body, and I appreciate all that you are for me. You can heal oneself on the deepest level when you align with 540, which is the angelic realm, by the way. Just a little FYI. So choosing to become a loving person results in the release of endorphins by the brain. So there's a big shift in consciousness when you start to get up, you break free of lower consciousness, the chemistry of the brain changes. When you're kind of mired and bogged down in lower consciousness, the brain function isn't optimal at all. There is no self-healing, it's self-destructing. So choosing to become a loving person results in the release of endorphins by the brain, which has a profound effect on the body's health and happiness. And there's more than enough evidence in science about mind over matter and healing yourself and healing your life that all of this is true. So religious or spiritual alignment with faith, and faith calibrates to 365 on the map of consciousness, is capable of reducing overall levels of fear. So this is how you can overcome fears, is by having faith. If you have faith in some area of your life, say, you know what, I have faith in this area of my life. I'm willing to accept I can have faith about this as well, because faith is superpower. There's a ton of gas in the tank when the consciousness of faith is within you already. It's within all of us, but bring it to light and use it to your advantage. The spiritual energy shifts brain dominance to a more benign system processing. All right. So the spiritual energy shifts brain dominance to a more benign system processing by which stress hormones are replaced by endorphins and optimized levels of serotonin and other neurotransmitters. So that's what's going on when you shift, access higher levels of consciousness, and you've got to bring them up and invite them in, and willing to accept you have faith. Like, I'm willing to accept I have faith, or I'm willing to release the blocks to faith. There's another affirmation you can use. Or if you have faith, you can just say, I am faithful that, fill in the blank. So again, I did a whole podcast and video cast about what we hold in mind tends to manifest. And Dr. Hawkins calibrated the level of truth of that statement, and it calibrates at 505 on the map of consciousness. That's huge. It's a very powerful level of consciousness. And if what you hold in mind is negatively oriented, you're a powerful creator that can create the opposite of what you want. So you're complaining about, if you're complaining and holding in mind constantly what you don't want, you got to manifest it. So you got to be careful what you wish for on both ends of the spectrum. If you're holding something powerfully in mind that you want, while at the same time noticing the absence of it, this is kind of brings me back to conscious manifestation with Eckhart Tolle, is understanding how to consciously manifest. You got to understand what's the predominant thing that you're holding in mind. So I did an entire video cast and podcast on the, level of consciousness of that statement. What we hold in mind tends to manifest. Super high at 505. So one of the difficulties to overcome as a human in self-healing is the willingness to accept the truth of that statement, right? You don't want to accept that you're the creator of your own problems, unless you're willing to accept. Acceptance is 350 on the map. So And that's kind of what I appear to be working on in this podcast and video cast, is calibrating at 350, which is helping you understand and coming to acceptance that you're the creator of your own experience, which goes hand in hand with what you hold in mind tends to manifest. They totally go hand in hand. So you've got to be willing to accept the truth of that statement. If you're not, then you're holding on to victimhood and lower mind beliefs that aren't true. They hold no truth. And continuing to do that and not releasing them is going to keep you stuck and keep you unhealthy and possibly getting progressively worse if you don't resolve it some way. There is a part of us that prefers to be a victim of illness, that enjoys the attention, that does not want to believe in the power of the mind or take responsibility for it. Okay, I just said that. I'm just saying it from Dr. Hawkins' awareness as well. And remember, Dr. Hawkins was a brilliant psychiatrist, MD, PhD, genius level, not to mention enlightened leader. He knows from what he speaks. He's not some schlep on the street that doesn't have clinical experience. He has significant clinical experience, was the busiest psychiatric practice in Manhattan. Can you imagine? So he knows his stuff. He's seen it all. So, and it's so funny because, the lower mind and the narcissistic core of the ego loves to get attention, and poor me, victim me, well, everything happens to me, poor me, is victimhood, and it doesn't help you. You got to step into courage, at least. Acceptance is a major leap to be willing to accept you're the creator of your own experience, which, by the way, Esther and Jerry Hicks and the teachings of Abraham, they forewarn you and say, you've got to be willing to accept this, so they know where they're leading you. If you're going to be successful at creating the life you want, or healing for that matter, you've got to come into acceptance. So, but if we truly want to heal, we cannot let a negative thought go unchallenged. We cannot hear ourselves say, I have diabetes, and let that go unchallenged. You just can't. Such a belief system is so powerful that just believing I have diabetes is sufficient to potentiate the disease. Instead, we have to cancel it and say, I am a person who once thought that. So when the thought comes in, I have diabetes, you're like, no, I am a person who once thought that, but I am only subject to that which I hold in mind. This is the statement that Dr. Hawkins uses next constantly. I'm an infinite being. I'm not subject to diabetes. So he is using the label here. I am an infinite being and I am not subject to diabetes. So in stating the truth, we move above 200, the line of integrity in the specifics of a given illness. So I am an infinite being is hugely powerful and true. Period. Like at a very high level, 500, 600s, that's the truth. At the spiritual level, you are an infinite being. And I am not subject to diabetes is true. As an infinite being, you are not. Infinite beings are infinite. So this statement that Dr. Hawkins has come up with is so freaking powerful. It's going to shift the energy of whatever it is you got running. In stating the truth, we move above 200, the line of integrity in the specifics of any given illness. So that's today's topic, how you can heal your life. To recap it, I highly recommend Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and use her encyclopedia of symptoms and stuff to get affirmations and understanding of what the beliefs are behind each one of the every type of problem you could possibly have is all in the book, and it's labeled. So you can look it up. Like a sty in the eye, that's an example, or kidney problems, liver problems, pancreas, it's all in there. Eyesight, hearing, all of it is in there. Combine that with the teachings of Dr. Hawkins and learning the mechanism of letting go, learning how to let go of the buried and suppressed emotions that are and beliefs that are creating the thoughts that are creating the problems in the body, and then using these steps that I just walked you through, that I have done on numerous times on myself, and I'm pretty much symptom pain-free, sensation-free. And I've had sensations all over the body in the last 10 years that I can remove quickly with using both of those tools for self-healing. Not to mention the tons of, if you go to the Mind, Body, Spirit Network and you sign up for our email or our mobile app or get push notifications, we always come across some significant virtual events or summits on self-healing. But I found these tools super effective. Highly recommend them to you. It does take self-awareness and the willingness to change and let go of victimhood. Hope that was helpful. Next week, we're doing 101 ways to success, I think, number 6. That'll be next week's video. And then the week after that, I have a great weekly dose of higher consciousness quiz. And we're taking a look at 3 things. So the quiz, I usually look at 3 or 4 things, and I ask you to guess or start feeling or intuit your way into understanding levels of consciousness and where truth and power really exist within context, within contrast to each other. So next week's quiz is, which is of highest consciousness? Is it having a good sense of humor, to be hardworking, or to be playful? That's a good quiz to know and see if you can figure it out. Put them in order, which is of the highest. And they're all they're quantum leaps between them. There's quantum leaps of power between all 3. So there's a significance to this list. Hope you liked today's episode. I do these topics monthly where I just kind of find some interesting topic I think you guys would like to learn about. Self-healing for sure is a good one. And then I do monthly topics on just a particular level of consciousness. So I can explain the map to you and you can really get familiar with the map. And then we do our monthly quiz, and then we do 101 ways once a month. That's kind of the lineup here at trumpeteroftruthtv.com and trumpeteroftruthradio.com. Thanks again. I'll see you next week.